everybody. Thank you, team, for sharing such great information so far about research. And yeah, I think that, I'm in the medical field for many, many years. And when people join the medical field or public health, a lot of things I hear is, I want to help others. I want to
Mhm.
help my community. So I thought, well, let's talk about what it means to be of service and how can we be of service in our community. So different ways that we can be of service. So we can work in areas like prevention. So prevention is really big in medicine and public health. We talk about levels of prevention in our classes, for example. So we don't want to wait until we have to treat issues. We want to try to prevent them to start in the first place. And that's something that we want to work in our communities to do to promote healthy behaviors. And I'll get to many organizations you can do that with. So, how do we raise awareness? How do we get people to know about the risks of what they're doing, and how can they protect themselves in certain situations better to make better decisions for themselves? Another point that we can work with in public health is the healthcare access, right? That's another thing we hear so much about. Having essential healthcare services for families, for communities. And that's regardless of their socioeconomic status or background. We are really advocates here of healthcare for the community, for the individuals. Having clinics, and especially we talk about underserved areas. So that's another area where we can be of service, right? Another one is, well, research and data analysis. And we just had two faculty members show not only what they have found, but the impact of what we can do after we get these data and how we can help our community. So that's a very important area as well, that we can see what the issues are so that then we can later on resolve issues. And that has to do with health disparities or improving outcomes. Another place where you can be of service is with emergency responses. So the Red Cross has training, and students, anyone can participate as volunteers for the Red Cross. For example, I'm just giving that one in particular. And when there are catastrophes happening, even locally or in other countries, that's a way to go and help. Um, Other students might want to be advocates. So policy development, we know that a lot of areas that have to do with funding, it starts with some policies that are being developed and some initiatives, and it comes from people that are wanting changes, that are wanting to better certain areas. Maybe it's done through some campaigns or, again, raising public awareness. And finally, I think another important areas that we can all participate in is community engagement. And that can be done with different activities and trying to implement some public health interventions and building trust and collaboration. Because if the community is not involved in the actions that we want to take, then there's less chance of success, if that makes sense, right? Because we want to have success and promoting things that are important for the community. Next slide. So now we know different ways that we can help the community, but what can we do? Like, where can we go? So there's some volunteer match websites. Yes. So there's volunteermatch.org or idealist.org. And I'm not saying I endorse those necessarily, but just for you to explore and see what's in your community. You're going to be surprised how many opportunities you have. People wonder, well, how can I help? Just start by looking around. There's so many ways. There's so many lists of organizations that are seeking volunteers in different areas. And what I always tell my students is pick something that inspires you. Pick something that speaks to your heart, right? Because that's where you're going to make the most difference. And also look at the needs of your community. Very important. We know about the local health department, so you can contact your local or even your state health department to inquire about volunteer opportunities. And many of them will have educational program disaster response efforts, and all those other topics we've talked about. They have a variety of areas where we can help. There are hospitals and clinics. I remember when I was applying for medical school, I went and did some volunteer work in hospitals. And I think I was like taking patients from room to room, kind of a transporter. But whatever you can do, right? It doesn't have to be something always huge, but you can make a difference at smaller levels, and you can make a difference in people's lives. University and research institutions, like we are doing, we have the at WCU that new journal that we are promoting for you guys, students, to work with faculty or to publish, and it is open to everyone who is wanting to have their work published through our site. So that is another way that you can find issues that are in your community, and then do some research so that you can make a difference. We know about nonprofit organizations, so many of them. And again, when it touches you, like for example, a family member has been ill with a certain illness, or you see a lot of members in your community having different issues, that might be the type of organization that you want to work with. And there's so many. There's HIV, AIDS, maternal and child health, mental health, advocacy. That's my accent. But anyways, many of them. And again, choose one that speaks to you. There are other things like professional association. The APHA has some opportunities. You can also contact other organizations, such as even the AMA, and other like places that they're always looking for volunteers, right? So it's up to you to also see where and how you want to make a difference. And then another one is community events and fairs. There are a lot of communities that are doing health fairs. They do public health information, again, promoting education, prevention. They check blood pressure, and so on and so forth. There's workshops and events that you can go and collaborate with, especially now that you're in school. And I'm talking to the students, of course, but now that you're in school and having more and more knowledge in the field, you can go now and help others and promote that knowledge. Next slide, please. So what are the rewards, right? So the rewards are, some of them and most of them are called intrinsic, meaning that you're making a positive impact in the life of others. And you are promoting things that are important to you, and you're making a difference. You're also getting a sense of purpose and fulfillment. If you do it right, you will get a great sense of value in what you're doing. And you will get a sense of purpose. And I think a lot of people are looking for that sense of purpose, and it can definitely be fulfilled by helping others in your community. From a professional standpoint, there's some growth and development that are part of this. You can learn different things. For example, if you work with a research project, learn how to do data analysis, advocacy. So you can broaden your career prospects in your field by doing this and growing as a professional. Other ways is for your own learning as well, because you can, if you participate in different events, you will continue your own education in the public health field and different areas that are of interest. Another one, as you're looking for jobs and expansion in your field, is to build connection and networks, right? What a better way than to meet people in your community that can then help to find you the employment that you're really wanting. So that's a huge reward at the end of this. And then there's personal growth. And, you know, you can definitely have not only that professional growth, but this personal growth, because if you pick areas that are challenging to you, that are outside of your comfort zone, and develop a greater empathy and improve your cultural competence, then you're improving yourself as a person. Next slide is about impacts and real change. So, you know, different areas. I just wanted to pick different ones. But, you know, in this one, for example, the first one is beach cleanup. So yes, beach cleanup is one we hear about, but is it making a difference? So, I mean, this organization alone, and I just picked two organizations, did 1,200, over 1,200 cleanups. They had over 30,000 volunteers. So you can imagine the amount of um, trash, right? Plastics, things that should not be in the environment on the beach that were picked up. And they said it was over 140,000 pounds. So this is not back in the ocean. This is like where it should be. And it also makes people aware, I'm sure, who are doing these beach cleanups of themselves, their attitude towards recycling and so on, and how important it becomes when you see so much of it on the beach. And then the other one that I saw that I thought was really interesting is in Central Texas. We're talking about food banks and soup kitchen. And not only does it reduce hunger, sorry. But you know what they found was that also the dietary intake of the people participating was better. They were eating healthier food, and they were being taught to eat healthier food, rich in fruits and vegetables, and improving, hopefully, their health status based on that. Next slide. So my services.
Barbara, go back.
That's okay. That's okay. So my services to my community, well, I work as a physician for many years. I work in some environments where, you know, healthcare was definitely needed. And I hope I made a little difference there. But I also, now that I'm teaching, I believe in education, as you may believe, right? So education is so important, and it starts with the little ones. So what I have been doing since my daughter was very, very small is I participate actively in community events for school to raise money for schools. And it can be for books for the library. It can be for professional development for the teachers, or even improving the playground, the classrooms, and so on. So I spent many, many years so far, because my girl's getting older, and a lot of hours that I really enjoyed sharing my time. And what it gave me as a reward is I got to know so many great people along the years that are still my friends after all these years. And we, I believe, really made a difference, and got the community involved, got a lot of parents involved. I would call it create a buzz about different events and make it exciting so that everybody would come and participate. And then the children, which I believe, you know, learn by example. You need to lead by example for the children to see. They see their parents involved in the community and giving back. And I think that that's great as well. So I'm currently still doing this, and I will continue for a really long time. And, you know, I invite you to find ways that you can contribute as well, in a way that speaks to you. And one of our other thing that I do, which doesn't really have to do with that, but is the concept of paying forward. And I also believe in random act of kindness. And you can find ways all over to do random act of kindness in your community. Little things, paying for the person that's behind you at the drive-through. Very easy. You know, we see like somebody looks like a college student, or a family, or a single mother with a bunch of kids struggling. You just pay for them, and that's it. And you drive off. But just an idea, you can find many, many different ways in your community to do that, some random act of kindness without being deeply involved. Just on a weekly basis, you can give yourself a goal to do something kind for someone that you don't know. So that was it for me. Any questions?
I love it, you know, because we always hear about random acts of kindness, but I don't think people necessarily associate that with public health. But it is.
Absolutely.
Everything to do with public health, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is.
And it's
really
so, and once you start really looking, it's so easy to do. There's so many things that you can do. It at the grocery store. You can like see an elderly person that's sitting there that looks sad, and you just go and sit with them for a second and talk to them, make a joke with them. There's so many ways that you can help your community at just little levels, little things that you can do. And my friend inspired me initially for this, and she had said, you know what, I do that every weekend. I started, and I have to look for it. But then when you start looking for it, it is all over. There's so many ways to do it, and it's fun and it's rewarding, trust me, at different levels. So
From a mental health perspective, you never know when that small act of kindness is going to make the biggest difference in that person's day or life or whatever. So, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
I totally agree, because that can change it. Because when has anybody ever paid for you at the drive-through, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, that was great. And then that is something that I'll remember. That one time that it happened to me, I will never forget that. I still remember it to this day. So it helps, it gives people a bright spot in what could be, a dark, cloudy day for them. So absolutely.
Paying it forward. There's nothing like it.